So with Zola, which is just amazing.
Thank you.
I mean, just incredible. And for those of us that watch and track his career through screen, now Zola's out the box in every single way possible. But also casting Colman Domingo in the part of X. So what does that take? Does it take, simpatico? Does it take a sister to look at you and be like, this, yeah, I know you could do this other level thing that no one is ready for?
It takes thinkers. I feel like I work with the most unique artists and people who think outside the box, and their brain is already on fire with like, oh, who do they want to bring into the room? So then Janixa Bravo, the co-writer and director of this, it was a simple ask, like, Colman, could you meet me for lunch? She sent a script. My husband, who's also runs our production company, he reads everything first, and he read it and said, this is for you. And so, and I'm like, oh, okay. So then I read it. And I thought, oh my gosh, I read the first 5 pages. I'm like, this is bonkers. This is incredible. I'm like, and she wants me. Now, I literally just finished doing a press tour for If Beale Street Could Talk, one of the most loving, generous fathers on the planet. And I said, well, what did she see in me that knows I could do this? But that goes back to earlier casting when I would go out for every character on Nash Bridges. And I remember this one time I went out and for Nash, I remember I went out for Nash Bridges and I went in to play a young, probably Joan Spangler sent me in, and she sent me in to play this wonderful young attorney. And the director looks at me and is like, and he's British, I'll never forget this. He was like, oh, that's interesting. Could you, I have some other sides. Could you go, I have some other sides. Barbie Stein was the casting director. Barbie, could you give Colman the other sides? And the sides were for a schizophrenic heroin addict. What you see in me? But I booked the role. So apparently people see me as something that maybe I don't see myself. But I think people see me as someone who can sort of paint outside of the lines a little bit. So I think that's been part of my superpowers in some way. So I think that Janixa saw something. She saw that I was available and that I wouldn't put something on a character. And I think the thing that I know for sure that I'm interested in doing, even as I get ready to approach a character, I've been doing my research and prep work for Color Purple, is how can I humanize this villain? This obviously broken individual who's doing horrible things. How can I humanize him? So with the character of X, the first thing I talked about was like, well, you know what? I think that I would approach it as an immigrant story from X's point of view. I said, yeah, he's maybe this guy doesn't have papers and everything. He found that trafficking women, it was something that he knew how to do, and he needed to gain agency in the world, and that's what he did because he wanted what everyone else wants. I didn't judge him from the outside. So I think already we were simpatico and understanding character and like, oh yeah, but he also, I always want to challenge audiences to think, especially a character like X and Zola. And the editor said this, she says, is it wrong that I'm kind of into X? It's wrong. He's doing terrible things. He's horrible, but I'm charmed by it. But I thought that for me, that was my goal, was to for me, that makes these women very smart in this film. Is like these are these smart, incredibly smart young women who get, I would say use the word gaffled, by this dude who's manipulating them. But he's using charm, he's using all these things. He's sly, and he's doing all this. But for my money, it continues to elevate, the feminist that I am, as it elevates these women and say, they're smart. This person who is just thinking a little bit outside and moving around and tricking them a little bit, So that's,
but what you're also talking about is being a storyteller within a bigger structure. Now, any of us that do theater know that in theater, you're telling the whole, whoever's up here, we're telling one story. That single story shit is not cutting it, and you're gonna be out of pocket if you do that. But from the outside, a viewer like me, I think that seems like the way in to do a film. Like whoever can shine the most, whoever can kind of flex the most on the screen to get the editor to get hype. But what is it, like how do you hold on to the part of you that is like, I mean, he just described Zola, and X steal the whole shit in a certain respect. But nothing about it is like, well, X dude, you know how actors are. There's a whole bunch of us out here tonight, like, well, it's a story of journey of what I did when I thought about, all right, pimpin', but what is the story about? You're able to hold on to that. Like the whole thing that he just described to us was about the women, because that's what the story's about. It's about the women. And so how do you do that?
You know what I think? I do, honestly, again, I'm going to do this because it makes sense, because it's all part of my foundation being here. I think where it's about looking at the whole story. I think the way I came into this industry was someone, I don't have any professional training for anything that I'm doing, but I learned by showing up to rehearsals at Cal Shakes when I wasn't asked to be in rehearsal, but I would sit in the back and I would watch Sharon Lockwood make this joke work out. And I would ask questions, and I would ask, all my colleagues and people who are doing it, well, how do I do that? Joan Mencken would tell me, well, Colman, it's like this. And, comedy's very hard. It takes a good 7 years. Colman, listen, watch the way I do this. So, you know what I mean? So I would really listen to all these people, and because it was my conservatory. So I think that that's what I do still. So I'm always looking at the whole picture, like you are. I feel like I'm always looking at everything, and it's not just the function of my character. So I feel like, and maybe it's funny, I got a note from one of my directors recently, I'll just say, from George C. Wolfe, when I was doing the Rustin film. That's so name droppy. I just threw that out there. I can't even believe I just did it. I didn't mean to do that, but
she's keeping me on my notes.
That was so cheap, but no, I just did this film, but only because it's just a reference such as that.
No, I got it.
It's about Bayard Rustin, and it's directed by George C. Wolfe, and it'll come out this year.
And you are
And I'm playing Bayard Rustin, yes. It's for Netflix and, a little-known company that is run by Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. Yes. So, but getting back to the story.
I like you.
No, I think that, he told me one time, he said, Colman, he said, because he challenged me to actually be a bit more selfish, to be honest, and to know that, you're the center of this, and sometimes you've got to let the other actors come back up. You can't be responsible to everyone and everything. And it, in a strange way, sort of like bothered me a little bit, because I'm like, that's where I live. I live thinking about all of us. And I almost didn't know how to do it. I understood what he meant and had to figure out that balance on how to do that thing, but also still take care of everyone like I wanted to. Because it didn't make sense to the way I operate. So you know what I mean?